Good morning, friends. We are learning our subject data mining, and in that, we are learning module 6, that is web mining and other data mining. So, in the previous lecture, we have studied the text mining, right? Now, we want to study further. Why we have studied the text mining? It is because it was having multimedia data mining. Multimedia data mining has audio, video, text, and other data mining. So we have studied the text data mining, right? Now we want to proceed further. So, how text mining works? For that, we can say collect data, text parsing, text filtering, transformation, and text mining. Right? So, what is there in the collect data? That is documents, say doc file, PDF file, PS file, etc. files are there. Then web pages can be there, textual files, XML files. This can be there for collecting the data. User comments. You may consider like Facebook is there, or otherwise we can say that any other type of social media network from where we are getting the comments. From all these things, we are getting the data. What sort of data is? Textual data, right? Now text parsing. What is that? We extract the words, parts of the speech. If you remember in the example of taking the feedback of a teacher, there we have considered the words. Let me show you so you can remember that. Here we have considered say friendliness, equally, good explanation. These words we have considered from whatever feedback we were taking, right? So here we can say that part of the speech we consider extracting the words, right? Then after we do stemming. Stemming, that means we can say suppose we are having the word that is running. We are having the words in say different form in the way that it may be say plural, it may be say having according to the tense, like we can say play, played, playing, right? So if it is verb, then you can say according to the tense the word can be different. And if we are having say singular and plural, then over there also we can say mango and mangoes, right? So actually the word is mango only, actually the word is play only, for playing, played, right? These things. So what we do is we are converting it to its original form, that is the stemming, right? Then word filtering, we filter the words from the text. Okay. Then synonyms, say synonyms. We can have say word and its synonyms. Both are available in the text. Then we will consider them as same. So how we can get these synonyms? That is for that it practically people are using the WordNet library. WordNet. It is useful for getting the synonyms. We can get whether the noun is there, verb is there, what is that? That also we can get from that WordNet library. People are using that for many research applications in text mining, right? So we can say for synonyms also, means if two words are there, they are the synonyms, then we'll be able to get them as one word. Fine. Okay. So For matching, we can say it will be easier for us. Text filtering. Filter irrelevant terms. The terms which are not at all useful to us, remove them, right? Create custom start stop list. Custom, whatever is required to our application, that way we'll create the start stop list. Then transformation. Now, what is that? Calculate term counts. If the word, say, run is found 5 times in the document, so what we do is we are counting the term count, right? We are counting that. Create term by document matrix. For each and every document, create the term by document matrix. For a particular document, we will count particular term. Say whatever relevant terms are there, for all of them, we will find the count for each and every document. So in say document 1, we are having run word 5 times, say teacher word 10 times. So that is the count for a particular document 1. Then the same thing is there for document 2, right? So this way we find the term by document matrix. Okay, fine. Okay. Then after we calculate the related things, actually we create the TF-IDF, that is term frequency, then inverse term frequency, right? All those things we consider here. Then for text mining, you can say, so what are all those things? They are also part of text mining. We can say that before doing the text mining, we do all this pre-processing. See, in the first chapter only, when we are doing the data mining, there also we have talked of that these are the steps. So after that, we can apply particular text mining or data mining algorithms, right? So same thing we have done here, right? So now in text mining, now what we are doing? Topic extraction, clustering, link analysis, predictive analysis, Boolean rules, right? We find the Boolean rules. This is there, that will be there, or this rule is true, that rule is false, right? Something like this we are making, and this is the way text mining works. So typical text mining process, what it is having? Data acquisition, that means collection of data, right? Which we have seen in previous slide. Then we can say text pre-processing, that is transformation, modeling, that means discover, extract, organize knowledge. Then after we can say evaluation, validation, performance and utility assessment. A feedback loop is there. What do we mean by that? Say we are evaluating, we are validating the data, and if it is not up to the mark, that means, for example, to measure the performance, we used to consider say accuracy, right? So when we fit our data to the model and then after we test it, we validate it, at that time, if the accuracy comes out to be 60 percentage and our expectation was say 90 percentage, so our model, whatever data we fit, according to that, it is not proper in the way that it is not giving us proper output. So what we will do is we will give feedback, that means whatever this was there, it will be given to the model that something is missing, right? So we consider that something is missing means whatever error is there, that is being passed to the model. Again, some processing like training is there, and those things, training in the way that the weights and bias are being improved, right? The way we were talking of the neural network, right? So here also, here not those things, but whatever required things are there, they are being feedback and modified, right? And after that, we can say when we are able to get the proper output, then you can say that it is giving the feedback to the model that everything is fine. And after that, it will be given to the application to give the presentation or to interact with the authority people, right? So what are the disadvantages? It does not generate new facts and is not an and in the and of itself. What do we mean by that? That is, it does not generate a new fact. It only does the mining, it says. The process is most useful when the data it generates can be further analyzed by a domain expert who can bring additional knowledge for more complete picture. Still, text mining creates new relationships and hypotheses for experts to explore further. See, when we say that mining is that, we used to say that it will generate the new patterns, isn't it? Still, it says that it doesn't generate new facts. What do we mean by that? See, it says that text mining creates new relationships and hypotheses. But who will accept that? See, it will be explored by the experts and then after it will be giving the facts, right? Applications, we can say security applications, biomedical applications, software applications. You can say, is it really so? There we are having the proper databases, or we can say data warehouse, and from that only we are getting. So why this text mining is that? See, always consider that everywhere the data is not there in the database or data warehouse. We can be having text documents in many cases, right? And these are the applications where we can apply the text mining, right? Software applications are there, online media applications, business and marketing applications, sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis, it is checking our sentiment. Like on Facebook, you have written the comment or you have written your post that, wow, today I'm very happy because this happened, that happened, this, that. So, what is your sentiment? Your sentiment is you are happy, right? So, positive sentiment is that. See, let me tell you one simple application for that. Suppose your friend's sentiment is sad today. How can you find that? Your friend has given the post like, today it was very bad day, right? So that bad day gives us the sentiment that your friend is not in good mood, right? Now the application, what can be done with the sentiment of your friend, that is from the word. See, you yourself are not going to analyze this. The automatic tools will analyze that your friend's mood is not good, so notification will be given to you that your friend's mood is not good. Now you know how to handle your friend's mood, right? You may call your friend or you may take that person to the uh, a place where that person will be happy, or whatever the problem in your friend's life, you can try to solve it, right? So such applications are there. Okay. Then we can say academic applications are there where the things are being written in the text documents only, right? We can consider in web mining also, we are having the text documents. There also we do not have the databases available, right? So there also we can use it, fine. digital humanities, and computational sociology. See, older days, the saints were writing the grantha, like say Mahabharata, Ramayana, those things on the leaves, right? On the tree leaves. So the projects of reading had text from the leaves and convert it to the text format that is being going on everywhere. From the leaves, read the text and convert it to the computer based text documents, right? So over there also you can see that the text data is there, and from that also we can apply the text mining, right? So enterprise business intelligence, data mining, competitive intelligence, e-discovery, records management, national security, intelligence, scientific discovery, especially life sciences, search, information access, social media monitoring. All these things are the applications of text mining. Right? Now we want to know one more data mining, that is distributed data mining. What is that? The classifiers are trained from local training sets. Predictions are generated for each learned classifier. Meta level training set is composed from the validation set and the classifiers on the validation set. Now, here we have considered meta level training. What does that mean? Meta training finds global classifiers from distributed databases. Right? See, distributed means simply we can say that, say, in our lab, we are having 5 pieces. Okay, many are there. Let us consider the example. We are having, say, 5 pieces. Let me show you. Let us say we are having 5 pieces, right? Now, what we do is we want to use them as a distributed system. Distributed system gives us the effect of one single PC with the effect of all 5 pieces. That means if I want to store the data, I do have the hard disk of size 1 TB of 1 PC plus 1 TB plus 1 TB plus 1 TB plus 1 TB. So I am having the hard disk of 5 TB. Wow, great. Do you have 5 TB? Actually, no. But distributed system gives you the effect that you are having 5 TB available, right? Here, how do we get the classifiers? The classifiers are trained from the local training sets. What do we mean by that? That is, see, how can we get the data out of all these 5? Definitely, you should take the data from 1 PC, then second, then third, then fourth, then fifth, and then you combine, isn't it? So, that is what is being said here, that the classifiers are trained from the local training sets, right? Predictions are generated for each learned classifier. And then meta level training set, that means meta training finds global classifiers from distributed databases, right? Distributed data is there. From that, it will find the global classifier. In distributed, always we are having the local and global, right? Whether it is classifier or memory or whatever things we considered. In the case of distributed systems, we have to consider the local data and global data, right? Well, we combine the local things we will get the global things, right? So here we are considering the classifier. So local training sets are there. From that, we will be getting the classifiers. And after that, we can say that global will be that. That is a collection of the local one. Fine. Next is we want to know about the parallel data mining. See, why are we learning all these things? Parallel data mining, distributed data mining. It is because data mining, we consider it is having too much data. Too much means what? We have started with the subject and we were saying that data mining systems works with say terabytes to petabytes of data, right? And this much data is there, so it cannot be processed very easily by single system, isn't it? So what do we consider? If we want to get the faster results, we know that we are using either the parallel or we are using the distributed, isn't it? So same concept we are applying, and that is say distributed data mining and parallel data mining. So what do we say? There is two main issues: task parallelism and data parallelism. There are two main issues. They are the task parallelism and what we say is data parallelism, right? So what is there in task? Processes are divided into subgroups. Processes. When we consider parallel, at that time, typically we consider multiple processes. That means in a single processor. See, typically what we are having in our CPUs, that is only one processor is there. But here what we consider for parallel data mining, that in one CPU we are having multiple processors. They are having the shared memory in between them, right? Okay. So what do we do is processors are divided into subgroups. Subtasks are assigned to the processor subgroup based on the cost of processing each subtask. Okay. For data parallelism, what do we say is tasks are solved in parallel using all the processors, but may suffer from load imbalance because the data may not be uniformly spread across the processors. Right? Parallel and distributed data mining applications, they are credit card fraud detection. Why credit card fraud detection we were talking of till now? It is the application of clustering, it is the application of outlier detection and many more things. Here also it is there. It is because we are having too much data. If we are considering, say, bank data, then also it is too much data. To process that data, we need to have the parallelism to get the data faster, or you can say to process the data faster and get the rules that can be done faster using the parallel or distributed one, right? So we are considering it as the application, right? Social media, social media data, that is also having too much data, right? Online purchase recommendations, as we have talked of for say Amazon or Flipkart. What do we say is if I am purchasing a particular type of data, like say I am purchasing particular brand dresses, then that will be recommended to me when new dresses of the same brand comes to the market, right? I do not have to search it, it will be recommended to me, right? Okay. And many more where large amount of data is there, that can be mined faster using parallel and distributed mining. Now see, we can have the big data also. Till now, we have only considered the data is there in terabytes to petabytes, but more than that also can be there, right? So for that, we consider the big data, right? So let us have the idea about what is big data. Fine. Big data implies enormous volumes of data. Volume refers to the vast amount of data generated every second. Velocity refers to the speed at which new data is generated and the speed at which data moves around. Velocity at the speed, right? We are considering the speed at which new data is generated. For example, let us consider, say, Facebook. See, every day, how much data do we upload? Say, for example, me uploading video, photos, albums, right? Tags, many things we upload on the Facebook. And that is only for me. Am I only the user? No. So, like me, many other users are there who are uploading the data on the Facebook, Twitter, or many other social media network, right? Not only this, let us consider say Amazon, Flipkart, such things are there. There also people are purchasing, then you can say they are canceling, they are changing, right? So all these things happens. So what do we say is velocity refers to the speed at which new data is generated and the speed at which data moves around, right? For this big data, what we consider v volume, velocity, variety, veracity, right? V, right? Big data is having the definition that is with 3V, 4V, 5V, right? Okay, so here we have considered volume, then velocity. That is the second one. Now, third one is the variety. What is that? It refers to the different types of data we can now use. Variety, different types of data. Veracity refers to the messiness or trustworthiness of the data. Veracity refers to the uncertainty surrounding the data, which is due to data inconsistency and incompleteness, right? So we are having volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Okay. Though effective data mining and analytics, the massive amount of data can be put to good use and yield value and business opportunities. Let's see what is the difference between the traditional data versus the big data. So we'll do the feature wise comparison, right? So for that we can say volume. For traditional data, it is gigabytes to terabytes, and for big data, we considers petabytes to zettabytes. Organization, for traditional data, it is centralized. For big data, it is distributed. Structure, that is for traditional data, it is structured, but for big data, it is structured or semi-structured or unstructured. Data model, that is for traditional data, it is strict schema based, whereas for big data, it is flat schema. For data relationship, for traditional data, it can be the complex interrelationships. For big data, it will be almost flat with few relationships, right? And that's all for our this particular chapter, that is 6.1. Now, let us start with our chapter 5, that is clustering analysis. Okay. In our subject, that is data mining, 3160714. So these are the things which are there in the clustering analysis. Let us start with supervised versus unsupervised learning. This we know, but let us recall and continue relating it with our this chapter. Supervised learning. Clustering is supervised? No, it is not, right? But let us start from that so we can have the idea and we can relate to clustering. Okay, supervision. The training data, observations, measurements are accompanied by labels indicating the class of the observations. New data is classified based on the training set. Unsupervised learning, that is clustering. The class labels of training data is unknown. Label, again saying you, when we are saying classification, it is supervised where labels are there, right? What do we mean by labels? If the fruit is there, we want to classify the fruits, we can say this is mango, this is banana, this is apple. It is already given as the label. But for unsupervised learning, the labels are not there. So how do we group them? We group them according to the distances, similarities, right? Given a set of measurements, observations, etc., with the aim of the establishing the existence of the classes or clusters in the data, right? Based on the distances, similarity, we are grouping the objects. Which objects? Data objects. Fine. So now we are starting. What is cluster analysis? Cluster. What is that? It is a collection of data objects similar or related to one another within the same group. This similar or unrelated to the objects in other groups. Okay. Cluster analysis or clustering or data segmentation. What we want to do? Finding similarities between data according to the characteristics found in the data and grouping similar data objects into clusters. It is unsupervised learning. That means no predefined classes are there. That is learning by observations versus learning by examples, right? Typical applications, that is as a standalone tool to get insight into data distribution as a pre-processing step for other algorithms. If you remember, we have learned the clustering, K-means clustering algorithm in data pre-processing, isn't it? Clustering for data understanding and applications. They are say biology, taxonomy of living things, say kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Information retrieval, document clustering. In the banking also, we can say we are doing the clustering. What sort of clustering we can do is type of customer we can cluster and we can provide the schemes according to that. In insurance also, we can do that. We'll cluster the people. In information retrieval, we can be using the document clustering. But if we are having, say, bank data, we can consider the customer clustering. Like this type of people or these people are investing say lakhs of rupees. This customers group, they are investing crores of rupees, right? These customers are investing say thousands of rupees, right? Something like that. We can cluster and work accordingly, right? To the groups of such people, different schemes can be designed and that will be given to those customers. Okay. Land use, identification of areas of similar land use in the Earth observation database. Similar area. Okay. This particular portion where the sea is there, right? Okay, so we can consider Gujarat. In that, we can consider say Surat, right? In any other area, say let us consider Kanyakumari, right? So in our India, say if we consider the land use, then we can say that this area is having sea, this area is also having sea. So we can say that temperature or say um, say farming products, those will be similar to the area where the sea is at, right? So that's what we can consider marketing. It helps marketers discover distinct groups in their customer bases and then use this knowledge to develop targeted marketing programs. These people are using this type of cars. Okay, so if new car comes for this particular range, or you can say that this particular brand, we should market to this particular people, right? Groups are being made that these people are say in a year they are purchasing one car, so we can make group of such people and we can target them. Such people are like no, they are purchasing car in say 10 years, right? 10 years they are purchasing only one car. Okay, so we should not worry much about them, but there also a new car comes, we should go to them. Yes, we can, but but our priority will be the people who are purchasing one car in a year, right? So that way you can make the distinct groups and do the marketing, right? City planning, identifying groups of houses according to their house type, value, and geographical location. City planning, identifying the groups of houses. See, where should we build the houses? The builders are making the plans. So, identifying the groups of houses according to house type, value, and geographical location. Okay, typically we say that the houses which are built in the posh area, there people will consider say many good facilities, and there you can say that price of those houses will also be more. And we can say that the houses which are built in say villages, then there will be if less facility, then two people work with that, right? Something like that based on the region, based on the geographical location, we will build the houses, right? We means builders. Okay. Earthquake studies, observe the earthquake epicenters should be clustered among continent faults, right? Wherever are the earthquake epicenters, that should also be clustered, and that can be used for many other applications. Climate, understanding earth climate, find patterns of atmospheric and ocean. Economic science for market research. Summarization, pre-processing of regression, principal component analysis, classification and association analysis, compression, that is image processing, vector quantization, finding k nearest neighbors, localizing search to one or small number of clusters, And one more is outlier detection. What is that? Outlier is data which do not follow the normal behavior, right? Like you can see that in your class, people who do not regularly attend the lectures, right? Quality of good clustering. So, what is good clustering? A good clustering method will produce high quality clusters, high intra-class similarity, cohesive within clusters, low inter-class similarity, distinctive between clusters. In your class, we can say high intra-class similarity, but inter-class low similarity, right? So that is what is good clustering. Then the quality of clustering method depends on the similarity used by the method, its implementation, and its ability to discover some or all the hidden patterns. Measure the quality of clustering. So, dissimilarity or similarity matrix. Similarity is expressed in terms of a distance function, typically dij, right? We have used the Euclidean distance, Manhattan distance, right? And many other distances for finding the distance between two data objects, right? Recall that the definitions of distance functions are usually rather different for interval scale, Boolean, categorical, ordinal ratio, and vector variables, which should be associated with different variables based on applications and data semantics. Quality of clustering, there is usually a separate quality function that measures the goodness of a cluster. It is hard to define similar enough or good enough. The answer is typically highly subjective. So, considerations for cluster analysis: partitioning criteria, separation of clusters, similarity measure, clustering space. Let us see this for partitioning criteria. Single level versus hierarchical partitioning. Often, multi level hierarchical partitioning is desirable. Separation of clusters. Exclusive, as for example, one customer belongs to one region versus non exclusive, that is, one document may belong to more than one class. Separation of clusters, right? Similarity measure, distance base, that is Euclidean, road network, vector, versus connectivity base, that is density, contiguity, right? Then clustering space, full space, often when low dimensional, versus subspaces, often in high dimensional considering. Okay, see, high dimensional is there, then too much data is there. So, what do we consider is subspaces. But if it is, say, low dimensional, then we'll consider the full space. Fine. Requirements and challenges. Scalability. Clustering all the data instead of only samples. Ability to deal with different types of attributes: numerical, binary, categorical, ordinal, linked, or mixture of this. Constraint based clustering, that is, User may give inputs on constraints. Use domain knowledge to determine input parameters. Constraints, some constraints you already given, and then after you want to do the clustering. Okay. Interpretability and usability, and others, they are discovery of clusters with arbitrary shape. Shape is arbitrary. Ability to deal with noisy data, incremental clustering, and intensive to input order. High dimensionality. So major clustering approaches we consider are, say, partitioning approach, hierarchical approach, density based approach, creed based approach, right? So major clustering approaches are only this four? No, more are also there. They are, say, model based, frequent pattern based, user guided or constraint based, link based, right? So let us see all of them in a bit detail. Partitioning approach, that means construct various partitions and then evaluate them by some criteria. As for example, minimizing the sum of square errors. Typical methods, k-means, k-medoids, clearance. Hierarchical approach, that is create a hierarchical decomposition of the set of data or objects using some criteria. Typical methods are Dyna, Aegis, Birch, Chameleon. Density based approach, there we can say based on connectivity and density functions. Typical methods are DBScan, Optics, Denclu. Grid-based approach, that is based on a multiple level granularity structure. Typical methods are Sting, Wave Cluster, Click. Model based, where we say a model is hypothesized for each of the clusters and tries to find the best fit of that model to each other. Typical methods are EM, SOM, and CodeWeb. Frequent pattern based, that is based on the analysis of frequent patterns. Typical methods is P cluster. User guided or constraint based, that is clustering by considering user specified or application specific constraints. Typical methods are COD, or you can say constraint clustering. Link based clustering, that is objects are often linked together in various ways. Massive links can be used to cluster objects, and we can say that we are having system rank or link class. That's all for today.